Welcome to the Nurse's View, where nurses rise, voices lead, and possibilities expand beyond the bedside. Featuring your hosts, Bina Bendale, Emily Knife, Viola Pierce, and Sharice Williams. This is your moment to see nursing differently.
Welcome back to the Nurse's View. We're so excited to have another conversation around money, and it's still a blessing to have all four of us here today because you just never know what's going to come out of our mouth. Hint the reason why the Nurse's View is the best, one of the best talk shows out here. Welcome, Emily, Sharice, and Dr. V. Welcome back. And today we're really going to be honing in on stories related to money and how to get some of these tax deductions, things that we have learned over the years. Again, please go by your tax consultant. This is not any tax advice, no legal advice. We're not doing any of that. This is just our stories and mistakes that maybe we have made and wish we were told maybe 20 years ago, and what we've learned over the past couple of years being in the business. So welcome everybody back. And what has come of your guys' stories? Because I have a whole bunch of money stories on this one, okay? Like I said, when I first met, me and my husband were living on a freaking air mattress for a year before we had what we have today. And I think people think in entrepreneurship that money is just magically going to come to you and you're going to automatically be a millionaire.
I think too, and I've wanted to say this, especially in the African American culture, okay? Yeah. As it relates to when you are becoming visible. I do want to say this because your visibility can help you make more money. Okay. And in the African American community, what has happened, and we have to be very intentional because I'm very intentional about not watching movies that really are lend to a bunch of slavery. Like I'm very intentional about that. And part of the reason why is because what happens is what we have to understand is that our DNA is what our DNA is, and it has been passed down. And what has happened is when you put somebody to the forefront, okay, they're the ones that get beat. They're the ones that get lynched. They're the ones who get raped, right? They're the ones that all those things have happened to in the past. And so when you put them to the forefront, and that's what happened. And I think that sometimes, especially in this community, what has happened is we think we can't go to the forefront for that. We can't do that. And then some people like, what if I tell people I got money? Because they act like they don't want to tell people they got money.
Yeah.
They be like, what if I tell people I got money and then they ask for some? I said, tell them no. It's a complete sentence. Like,
exactly.
I think people still have a hard time saying no to give money. It's crazy.
Yeah. Somebody had the same conversation yesterday. I was like, you don't need to give anybody anything. Your time, your whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to have boundaries when it comes to entrepreneurship, especially because literally all of your time can be taken. All of your money will be taken if you don't have those boundaries so that you can understand how to do that. Because I had somebody come to me, ask me for some money. I said, what you doing?
You grown? Right.
Yeah. It's hard when you talk about visibility, and it is very true, specifically with entrepreneurship. The more visible you are, and again, it goes back to perception and how you market. If you're marketing correctly, and I say ethically, it's people assume that you have money. And I've said this happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and I think we were out with family or something. I forgot what happened. And someone's like, "Oh, Bina can pay. She makes a lot of money." And I was like, the last I checked, you were like, I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. Bina can pay. You are correct, but you all make your own money. You guys make your own money. What is this assumption? And there is that level. And I think that's one of the reasons why sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs are scared to show their success, because then family members will start to leech, friends will start doing things. It's that perception of, you're a millionaire, you can do this, or you should buy this, or they see certain things. But in reality, it's like, we can do what we want, but we also have control of what we want to spend money on.
Exactly.
Right.
It's boundaries.
It's boundaries. It's hard boundaries.
Like Dr. Lola said, you girl,
Yeah.
you can make money just like I make money.
choice.
It's not about not being generous, whatever, but you get to choose on your own terms, not to be guilt tripped into it. I remember being, and you said, someone said, oh, Bina can pay for it. I remember my mom did that to me once. This was forever ago. And I was making $100 an hour. I was doing some consulting and I was making $100 an hour, which was like, so that was like big back then. Right. Why did my mom, we were just out with friends. It was like me, my mom, one of her friend's daughter, which is around my age. It was like maybe 6 or 8 of us. And then the check came. No, before the check came, she was like, oh, y'all can just order whatever. Sharice has got it. I'm like, what the, who told you that? I gave her the elbow. I'm like, no. They all have jobs. They can pay for their food. Yeah. Don't volunteer me for anything. And not that, and here's the thing, I maybe would have paid for the thing anyway. I'm that person. Don't take advantage of this, you guys. But I'm that person. If we all go out, I'm probably going to pick up the bill anyway, just because, just whatever, just because.
I'm similar in that sense too. But only to people who I like.
But don't volunteer. Don't make assumptions. So that's where the issue is. Don't make assumptions, and it goes back to having clear boundaries, and don't feel guilted into it. So yeah.
And surround yourself with people, like Dr. V said in our last episode, about learning from people that have money. Like, you can't learn from broke people. So also don't surround yourself with broke people, because then you'll become like
your mindset will go down, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have to surround yourself with the people that you want to be surrounded with. And I think that reminding ourselves we are very herd-like mammals. Like, we like community. We like to be around that. So it's like, I go back to the Lion King videos, right? If you want to be the scavengers with the hyenas and Scar, go. Great. Yeah. Be that ruthless, then that comes in. That's your cup of tea, then that's your cup of tea. But if you want to be like the Lion Brain and us hanging out with Hakuna Matata and hanging out over here, then that's where you want to be. I think people have choices. And when it comes to the money, and for some other people, when they speak for me, like I had the similar situation with one of my family members. Oh, Bina got the check. And I was like, no, I sat that check right in the middle of that table, y'all. Like, I was straight up. I was like, they're like, aren't you going to pay for it? I said, I paid for my portion.
Yeah.
No, because I think it's just that I want people to realize that just because people have visibility and they're open with what they're doing doesn't mean that they're going to pay. You know, or the assumption that they're going to pay.
The assumption. And I want to go back to something that Emily brought up a second ago, which is around the 5 people that you surround yourself with. Yeah. And being very, and this is not, I don't think this is anything to play with, but being very intentional about your communities. And I always I'm this person. I'm like, I want to be the poorest person in the room. That doesn't mean, so if I'm the poor person in the room, everybody else got to be like way above making, and I want to be the dumbest person in the room. Let me be the dumbest person in the room, because I want to learn what I don't know. And if you're the smartest, I have a friend like this. He's very smart, and he loves being the smartest person in the room. Let me say it differently. He's smart academically. He's smart academically, and he thrives on that, and he loves to throw that around. But when it comes to so many other areas, because he intentionally seeks out arenas where he's the smartest person, he stunts his growth. And I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, again, let me be the dumbest person in the room. Let me be the poorest person in the room. Let me be the whatever, the weakest person in the room. Like the group of people that I work out with, they are some strong, badass women. And I'm probably not the weakest person anymore in the room, but that is something that I intentionally choose, because I'm going to elevate in strength, in finances, in business, in whatever it is. Yeah.
And that's important. You know, what you said, Sharice, about the 5 people that you have to take inventory of the people that you hang out with.
Absolutely.
If you start talking about other people, then I'm going to start talking to you. I can promise you that. I can promise you, because small minds talk about people, mediocre minds talk about events, and then the great minds talk about ideas. And so having ideas about how to grow is completely important. And so I'm very intentional about that. And I just, it doesn't, I like not, and this is another thing, when you are not the smartest person, I think that sometimes whenever nurses reach that level or that pinnacle where they are really smart and they've accomplished a lot of things, they struggle with being in those rooms, like you said, Sharice, because what happens is they're not the smartest person. And then they feel like that the questions that they ask are, but this is the deal. When you are in healthcare, if you don't ask the question, then sometimes your patient may die. It's the same thing with your business. It's going to die if you don't ask the pertinent questions that you need to ask. I tell my clients all the time, I say, listen, if you don't ask questions about your business, if you're not where you need to be, if you ain't a multi-billionaire, okay, then you got questions. Okay. Everybody has questions. All right.
And there's no bad question. And I think that's true. People get scared to ask questions.
That's how you learn.
Yeah. So get your piece of paper out, get your phone out, and write down the 5 people that you hang out the most with and cross them off if they are not elevating you, and add somebody else into it. And it doesn't have to be like somebody in your proximity. It could be maybe somebody on a prominent podcast that is teaching investments, that's teaching money mindset, whatever that is, right? And just listen to that person on repeat. And now they're in your wheelhouse, and you're going to attract more of those people because you've elevated your frequency.
Yeah, 100%.
Really important.
I love that.
I always tell people it's like driving across country with those 5 people in the car. Can you be across country with these 5 people? And also giving yourself that permission to say, hey, you know what? You're not serving me. You need to get out. And then they're like, but what about where they're going to live? And what about how they're going to get home and all that? That's a them problem. That's not a you problem. And that's not being selfish. That is not being selfish. And I think a lot of times people carry this guilt or this, I've known this person for 10 years and blah, 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 blah. And they've been my ride or die. And I'm like, are they really riding and dying with you? Because the last I checked, when
They're dying.
You were dying.
They're dying.
You were dying.
They're dying.
They ran off, or they left the check at the table and said, oh, peace, Bina got it. Or Charisse or Viola or somebody got it. That's not ride or dying. That's just like being taken advantage of. And I think people have to realize that as you elevate in your business, your circle is going to elevate. Yeah. And you have to be able to travel or to be in that car and be okay with arguments are going to occur. There's no questions. Conflict is going to occur. People are going to have feelings and comes up, but you have to also be able to talk about it in a level when you're doing the work. Hey, this is how this made me feel. Again, I always tell people, put your big girl panties on and have a conversation. Because then it's just, you're able to have that. But I think when we're talking about money, wealth, and when we're talking about specifically growing, is just that your mindset also has to grow with that money, because you're right. You have to have those 5 people. 5 people could be an imaginary friend in your head too. It could be your other alter ego, okay? That puts you in check. Okay, don't do that. Don't do that. It's fine.
Yeah, and
I think it's important that, I don't know which one of you said it, but you were talking about just the people that you look at online. And it drives my husband crazy. He likes to watch regular TV. I don't like to watch regular TV. I don't even watch the news, right? Anyway, so I'm forever watching a YouTube podcast or whatever. And because I want to peek into the minds of the people who are just really are doing more than what I'm doing, so that we can elevate our business. And understanding, and I struggle with this one sometimes, just because of the fact that I am very, and you wouldn't think this, okay? All right, y'all wouldn't think this of me, okay? But I can get pretty emotional, right? And sometimes I be so out my brain. I be like, I don't know why I accept it. I don't know why. And then my husband comes home and it's gonna be all right. Okay.
Because you're elevating yourself, right? You're having your checks and balances. You're in a world where whatever you're watching on YouTube, it's challenging you to an extent where it might emotionally make or break you. I cry all the time. Like, I sit here and I cry all the time. I sit here and I'm like, dang. But then I also want to make sure that are the people who I'm surrounded with, are they going to answer my phone calls when I have those hard days? Are those people going to elevate me and not put me down, saying, see, I told you so. I told you not to do that. I told you not to go here. I told you, you know what I mean? Like, those negative thought processes like comes up. Those people I kick out of my life real fast. Yeah. Like those people are gone. And even families, even some of my family members, like, I don't associate with because of that low. And I think people, when you're talking about your 5, Emily, it doesn't have to be family members. I think people have to realize that too. It doesn't have to be your best friend from high school or your best friend that I have a friend that I've known since I was 4 years old. And we still talk to this day, but elevate with the people. And if you're crying, it's just congratulations, because I'm a crybaby too. I'm a crybaby too. But it's also knowing that do those people who you can call any given time going, you know what, I'm having a really shit day. And they're there just to listen and not give unsolicited advice.
Yeah. One thing that I always recommend, and I do this myself, is always reach up. Don't reach across. Because Bina, like if I'm having a bad day, Bina, and let's say Bina, if I'm having a bad day and Bina's having a bad day, or having an okay day, you're having an okay day, Bina, and I got shit going on, and I reach out to Bina. Now Bina got shit going on too, because I gave her my shit. So reach up, because when you're reaching, when I say reach up, I mean someone who they're beyond where you are in whatever scenario, right? Because they can help you navigate, and it's not going to affect them. They're not going to take on your shit because they know how not to. Do yourself a favor, and the other people that are lateral to you, if you will, don't reach across to them and shit on them, share your shit with them, right? Reach up so that way they can help you navigate through whatever it is that you're going through.
Yeah. True. And I'm going to make one comment before I go to you, Emily, is what I've learned in my past is that the most successful people, and I call successful, quote unquote, if you truly ask them for 5 minutes of their time or 10 minutes of their time, saying, Emily, and I actually did this with Emily. I'm like, hey, I actually really wanted to learn more about these affiliate links. Actually, after the NNBA, remember I came up to you and I was like, hey, I've never heard of it. I've heard of it. But for me, I was like, can you explore my mind a little bit more about these affiliate links? And that's why I say people who are successful, and if you go into that level of, hey, I want to learn X, Y, and Z. I did this with Dr. V. I'm like, I don't know much about Facebook ads. And she's, oh, girl, I'll teach you. So you want to elevate your mind, but the minute you go in a way of asking for education, I promise you, any CEO, any high level that's making multi-million dollars or a billionaire will give you 10 minutes of your time because they want to teach, because they don't want people to make the same mistakes that they did in a higher level. So again, it goes back to asking for permission and asking like, hey, curiosity questions where there's no dumb questions. How were you able to elevate this? How were you going from this room to another room? Because it's the truth. If you don't know, you only know what you know until you don't know. And knowledge is the key on that.
Yeah. And one thing I'll just add, just kind of as a final close for me, is that when you are asking people, I think what's even more important and more profound than asking them what they did, that's important. But what's even more important is, how were you thinking? What were you thinking? Because now that question in and of itself will help you expand your thinking and your ability to create whatever it is that you're wanting to create.
Yeah. Emily, I want to ask you a question, particularly in a high stress burnout profession. What advice would you give for teaching some of these newer entrepreneurs about building wealth? Especially in these particular high stress, because I do a lot of somatic healing. So like in that high stress burnout positions, like how do you teach them like that generational wealth building for long-term growth? Because that's what entrepreneurship is.
Emily, before you do that, tell us what somatic means. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's some people, okay?
No way, yeah, that's true. They don't know.
They'd be like, nah, I don't know what it, but I ain't the one, okay? So I need to know.
Yeah, so somatics deals with the nervous system, and the nervous system really runs your show. It runs your reality. And if you're in fight or flight, like these nurses that are in high stress situations, whether you're in a trauma center, ER, ED, whatever you want to call it, you're constantly in fight or flight. So your body and your mind doesn't have a second to actually make a sound decision. You're actually reacting to your environment instead of responding to your environment. So what somatics does, it lets you investigate why your body's in such a high stress. And when you can actually ground your nervous system by doing different things like meditation, breath work, or even just sitting still for a minute, because a lot of people can't even sit still for even just a minute, that helps your nervous system, takes it down a couple notches. And when your nervous system is actually in a good place, you can make really cool decisions based on intuition, which a lot of nurses have intuition, but they can't actually access it because their body and their mind is, blah, 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 blah. It's like going 100 miles a minute, right? So what I do with the somatic nurse coaches is we look at how do you get your nervous system to a place that you can make those sound decisions where you're responding instead of reacting? Because money's not going to come to you, and you're not going to be able to learn about money if you're in a flight or fight consistently. And it's just like it goes with our nursing students. Nursing school is super hard. They're in fight or flight all the time. And they're in competition with themselves, with each other, and with themselves. And it's actually really hard to learn. That's why a lot of nursing school is memorization, because when you're in a high stakes situation, and this goes for when I had the military training that I did too, is memorization is really easy to do when you're in fight or flight, because there's no skill base. It's a lot of reaction. You're memorizing, you're reacting, you're memorizing, you're reacting. There's actually not a critical thinking piece. That's why a lot of nurses lack critical thinking, because their nervous system and the opportunity to actually learn how to process and continue through actions with response. They're just reacting. So when somebody goes down the ED, it's a code. You react. You know what to do because you've memorized it. You don't have time to actually think through that process. What would I do, or what can I do? So that's probably a little bit of what I would do if I was in like fight or flight, or if I'm coming from these high stakes situations, as many nurses are. So that's somatics in general. It's really just tapping into your nervous system, and even asking yourself, like, maybe you got cut off in traffic and you just came from a really hard shift, and you're like yelling through your car, which is your horn, and your horn is just going off. But really that's like a reflection of you coming through your car, right? It's like, meh. Just take a moment and be like, first of all, was that even necessary? Secondly, what kind of state am I in right now? And when we start to hone in on asking ourselves, like, how am I feeling in this moment? What kind of state am I in? Can I hold space to help somebody elevate, right? If Bina calls me and I'm having a shitty day and she's having a shitty day, I'm going to be like, hold on, Bina. I don't actually have the capacity right now to help. Call Dr. V. Or call Cerise.
Or call Cerise.
Call somebody
else. Yeah. Which is true.
Right?
Yeah.
I usually can separate the two, but if I'm really down and in the thick of it, then I'm just going to be honest and be like, hey, I don't have the capacity right now to hold space for you, which is really good, because then that's not going to bring me down any further, and it's not going to take her down any further. So it's that boundaries, like Cerise was saying. But yeah, that's a little bit about somatics.
So how would you now, thank you for explaining that, because Dr. V, a lot of people look at somatics and they're thinking like breath work and things, and they're not realizing that somatics is really honing into your body and what your state is, correct?
Yes.
How would you tell a brand new entrepreneur when they're still in that high stress environment and trying to educate them on wealth building? What would you tell them that? Because I want people to realize that sometimes you have to be ready to hear the things that you want to hear, and they may or may not do. So what are the tools or things that you can do to help them with that?
Yeah. So like our previous episode is just understanding that you even have a problem, right? That's like the first thing with anything, is being like, okay, I have a problem. But then getting yourself into a situation where you can be in a calmer state. So whether you're probably not going to want to do a bunch of modules like while you're at the hospital, because you're not going to be learning anything. So actually make a date with yourself and be like, hey, I'm just going to take an hour and do some self-learning, some self-investing, and take a moment and get away from your house, get away from any distractions, and actually invest time in yourself. And I think that would be the first thing that I would start off with, is learning how to invest time back into yourself and taking time with yourself instead of taking time with all these other people. If your friends are sitting around talking about investments and money, cool. But if not, then start to teach yourself. But I think you have to also recognize, like, you need to be in a environment, in a nervous system where you can absolutely learn. Maybe even start with listening to a wealth embodiment podcast, like while you're driving home, instead of listening to Rage Against the Machine and some like hardcore metal, because you're so stressed out, all you want to do is scream. Try switching it up a little bit, because what you feed your mind is going to come out in your identity. Just like I love some good old 90s rap, and I will rap.
I love some good old 90s rap. Yep.
Like you'd be like, really? You know all the yes, I do. I know a lot of the Tupac songs, and I karaoke all day long.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you can play Tupac in my house all day long with Biggie Smalls. That's where I jam. Okay.
This is hilarious. You know that we were getting into this right here.
Who knew?
You know that yes, that plays in our house all day long too. But that's where I grew. It's from the Bay Area. Come on, that's where we grew up.
Oh, that is true.
If they're talking about like murder and rape and broke ass bitches, like that's what a lot of those songs are saying. So if you have that going on repeat, that is gonna be
you end up being a broke ass bitch.
No. You're gonna be a broke ass bitch. Like, but I still do like me some E40, okay? I still like me some E40 up in here, okay? Like when you go back to, we still like that, okay? Dr. Dre, all that stuff in our house, we be jamming on that shit here. Yes. But what you listen to does still make a huge difference. But let's just be real, they don't make music like that nowadays. I don't know what this new music is. That was real music back then.
But like Dr. V,
Vina, you sound like your parents now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
My mom used to always say, what is all this hippity hop?
But all fairness though, I am a Taylor Swiftie, okay? I am a huge Taylor Swift fan. Like talking about money and generational wealth, that girl, dude, she is if anybody wants in any entrepreneurial life or a nurse or anybody, if you really want to learn how to be 110% successful, follow Taylor Swift. That girl has made money from her lyrics, but those Easter eggs and anything that drops out of her mouth, like it's viral. You talk about an affiliate link, that girl knows how to make a movement. And I was following her business model and it is legit, like it is solid. That girl knows what she's doing. So yes, I am a Taylor Swift in my house, but I also have a 9-year-old daughter.
But what Dr. V was saying, I don't watch the news either anymore.
I don't either.
Just
anxiety.
So made up. You don't even, because you create your reality. So if you're waking up every morning like I used to before I went to school, my parents would have the news on and I'm like, oh, it's another murder. That's great. And then I go to school and I'm in a bad mood because I'm like, oh my God, people are dying everywhere. Is that going to happen to me? So I'm in that mindset when I'm going to school.
Again, going back to programming your mind. All of it is programming your mind. I'm with you. I don't watch the news. And that's why it's called a news cycle, by the way. It's the same stuff. I always tell my husband, I'm like, someone's gonna die, someone got raped, someone's gonna do something ridiculous, put a baby in a microwave. It's just a different variation of it. So it's predictable. I'm not watching this now.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
Because I talk about somatic healing. I can't watch the news. I will be completely dysregulated.
You know,
go ahead, Dr. V.
This is something that I just wanted to bring up that was just pretty interesting. So this young lady, she spoke at the conference yesterday and she is Bernie Madoff's niece. Okay. And she said that one morning she woke up and her parents were like, they normally wake up, they exercise, they do their whole thing. She said this particular morning, they were not. Her name is Jess Ekram. Don't let me mess up her name. Anyway, but she woke up and they were not exercising. They were not doing their usual routine. They were they knew that it was exam time. So they said, go to school, don't watch the news, just come back home. And so that's what they did. And so at that time, it wasn't like you had a news cycle coming at you every 5 minutes like we do now, right? I find out stuff about folks. I ain't even got to watch the news. All I got to do is watch TikTok.
Right.
So
let's just see. You just go on TikTok. I get that's where I get everything.
So she said it wasn't like that at that time. So when she came home, she turned on the TV and found out what her uncle had did, right? And of course, her parents lost a massive amount of money, right? Because it was her uncle and they invested. And this is something that he said that he was trading nickels for adoration when he was small. That is where the crime started. I was like, wow. Because they said that he was like that the entire time. And the only reason why, if you watch the documentary on him, the deal was that they thought he was stealing money. They thought he was scamming people. But the reality was that because they thought that they would come to him and he was so savvy in what he would say, he like made them go away most of the time. And then finally, this one guy was like, nah, bro, I need to figure out what's going on here because you making these folks 3 times as much when he really wasn't. It was crazy. And so I thought that was interesting because of the fact that the things that we learn whenever we're small, everything that we learn between the ages of 0 and 7 is very concrete. And we have to understand that, and we have to reprogram our minds, like Emily said, because at the end of the day, every single solitary day, you have to program your mind to be ethically and have your ethics and integrity intact, right?
Yeah.
So that you are moving the needle, but also making money at the same time. So it's huge.
Yeah. So, if we were to sum up this particular episode, what would be one of the biggest takeaways that you would tell the audience?
Get some somatic coaching.
Because I think yes, I do agree. Somatic coaching is huge, and it's such an underrating conversation, which we can have a whole conversation, which we will have another podcast specifically around somatic coaching, because I know you're the expert in it, but I do a lot of somatic coaching with what I do. There's a lot of things about where are you in your body and what you're doing in your body is so key, because like yesterday, you all know I had a really tough day last night with my children, and I still was so calm in my world where I still had to be present for my children. And the only time I was able to have a good release was when my husband came home and I gave him a hug, and I finally was able to have that big, deep, uncontrollable cry that I needed. And when we're talking about literacy with nursing, when we're talking about wealth, when we're talking about money, it's also that same mindset of it's okay to cry. It's okay to have that fears, but it's also how to shape it and move it to keep that money coming back. Oh,
It's
Emily, good? It's so important. It's so important. And call a friend when you're like, I need help. I know. Emily, what about you?
I would just say make sure the people that you go into business with, that you know what their money mindset is too. So if you're getting in like business with a business partner or an investor or whatever, the people that are coming into your wheelhouse within your business, make sure you know what their money mindset is too, because it might catch you off guard and you'd be like, oh, wait, hold on a minute. Did I make a mistake? What happened? So just really tune in, be really clear on what your money situation is, and then also be honest with that person and have them be honest with you too. And if there's a lack of transparency, then that's like a literal red flag to just be like, hey, we've got to have a conversation. So I think that's what I'd leave the nurse entrepreneurs with, because I've made those mistakes in my past, and now all you can do is learn from it and move on. So yeah, I'd leave the audience with that.
Lessons learned.
Cherise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would leave with this again. Always reach up. Always reach up. Yeah. So intentionally cultivate your circle so that you do have people to reach up to. And being, as you say, most people are more than happy to help. If you just ask, I need 5 minutes of your time. I need 10 minutes of your time. And then honor that. Don't say you need 10 minutes and you really need an hour or whatever, but really just be transparent in that. But intentionally cultivate your circles so that you have people to reach up to when you need support, because you will need support.
Yeah. Dr. V?
I want to piggyback on something that Emily said. Just being very intentional about, especially whenever you do partnerships, are hard sometimes.
Yes.
It's just a marriage. And you have to, literally have to align with your work ethic, your money mindset, all of that, and having contracts in place so that whenever you get ready to say, then you can do that. Because when we first started with the events, I had a partnership, and it just did not go well. Like one of the girls was just talking smack to one of the people who had paid. She was like, I didn't get the link. And she was like, we've been all over social media. Child, it's an algorithm. Okay. If you didn't get it in your algorithm, then you didn't get it.
You didn't get it. They don't see it. It's not always about that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, what we're not about to do is keep doing this right here. And so we split, and being very transparent especially with the money. Every single solitary time I would show actual bank accounts. Okay. We showing bank accounts. We're not showing anything else. We're not showing no spreadsheet. We're not showing all that drama. I'm going to log into the bank and we're going to see what the bank looks like so that we can be very clear on that. So that is the most important thing, I think.
I think we're going to have another podcast relating to partnerships. I think it's a really high topic, and I've been really burnt with partnerships. And it's a really, and just for everyone out here listening, we will have a full episode around partnerships, because I think hearing our stories, or if we're comfortable sharing our stories, and knowing that also when you are building generational wealth, it's also, you want to make sure it's solo generational wealth, unless, like Dr. V was saying, contracts are in place, you're married. There's a marriage there.
It is a marriage, for sure.
It's a marriage. And to know, like what Emily was saying, you have to know where their money trauma is also coming from, and how they hold their space in that firm, in that sense. And it's very challenging. And I think in a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of people think they need to do it together because it's easier. Because I think back at bedside, especially us evening nurses, we like to do everything together. Night shifters, we like to do everything together. Day shifter, they're like, fuck this, I just got here, let me just handle this thing. I'm going solo. So I think it's part of our culture too, where we are cultivating that. We've always taught, we can't do a code by ourselves. We always need somebody. And I think when we're talking about money, and money specifically around this topic, really understanding somebody else's ifs, thens, or thens, and what they feel about money, because your output and my output might be completely different.
Yeah, they're a scarcity mindset, right? If they're always like, I can't afford that, or I can't have that, or not right now, or people aren't going to pay that price. Like that right there is like a really good key into like where their mind is. And if they're a scarcity lack, or a fear lack of money, that's not going to help you gain that wealth or build that business. Yeah, that's really important.
How would you guys money object for people? Let's switch theory on this. How would you guys money object for people that want to pay or invest in coaching or charge a large amount of money, and people are just like, I don't got money for this?
Then you're not my person. Another person will come along.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I would downsell them and be like, hey, I have a $147 self-paced course. I'm going to go ahead and send that to you, right? Like you could downgrade like their thought process and then upsell within that course to your coaching or whatever the next level would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important for you to have too, because everybody's not in the same place, right? At the end of the day. So having two products, where one is your North Star product, and then one is your
Lower ticket.
Yeah, the lower ticket course. At the end of the day, when I first started, I thought that I knew I needed business coaching. I knew I was real clear on the fact that I didn't know business. And that's one of the reasons why I love it so much, is because I love elevating every time and learning about it, and learning sales, and learning marketing, and learning operations. I hate operations. That's not the truth. But I love sales marketing.
I love operations.
I hate operations. Like, it is the bane of my existence right here. Okay. But anyway,
that's my jam. I love operations, but okay.
My jam is marketing and sales. I really like it. And it's because it challenges me, right?
Yeah.
And operations is more detail oriented, and I just don't want to do that.
So what would you tell like a new entrepreneur like that's trying to sell a $5,000 package, and they're just like, I'm not getting clients. I'm not doing this because people are not, I'm getting more no's.
Go ahead.
Good.
You're going to have to get to the no's to get to the yeses. Number one. Number two is that you have to understand how to mitigate those objections. You need to understand how to handle an objection from the very beginning. The call really doesn't start until the price gets said. And once it's said, then you need to understand how to handle the objection after you say the price. And then shut up. I'm sorry, not shut up. Be quiet, okay? So when you say the price, be quiet. Be quiet. The first one to speak loses, okay? Just be quiet. And let them, okay, say whatever they got to say. Okay, go ahead, Cherise.
Always say, listen, there's so many things I can say about this, but I always tell my clients always have a glass of water or something next to you, because
drink.
Just start sipping. The minute you ask them, the minute you say, okay, it's this, whether you say it's a pay in full or your options are X amount, whatever you're going to say, which one's better for you? And you start sipping. You don't stop sipping until they start talking.
Yes.
So have a straw, whatever. You just keep on sipping. You're going to be very well hydrated through this whole process of building your business, because you're going to be sipping away. No, I am serious. But here's the two things that I really want to point out. One, sometimes if you're finding that you're getting that objection over and over and over again, you might not be talking to the right people.
Right.
Okay. So let's just be there for a minute. That's why we all talk about who is your ideal client. Because honestly, if they really are not your ideal client and you're trying to sell them something, the answer is going to be no. It's going to be no more times than not, right? No matter what, because they're not your people. So let's start there, making sure that you're in front of your people. And then the second thing is that it could very well be skill based. None of us in nursing, we didn't have to, I say this, we didn't have to sell. We're always selling, right? We're selling people in procedures. I was an ICU nurse, so I'm always selling people on Foley catheters, why they should get a blood transfusion, why they need this.
We're selling all the time.
We're selling all the time. However, what I mean by that when I say that is that we've not had to ask for money in exchange for services, right? And so that is a skill. And I'm with you, Dr. Ella. Yeah, operations doesn't blow my hair back, but sales, honey, sales. Oh yeah, we're in the game now. We're in the game. I love sales. And I would also say that, so it could be skills, right? So you have to develop, and here's the beautiful thing about a skill, learning how to sell in a way that's authentic to you, right? Not putting on this whole different persona that you have to be the slick, cheesy, sleazy, the used car salesman. No, you don't have to. In fact, the more authentic you can be in the sales process, the better. So not switching personas and doing that whole thing. But the beautiful thing, the thing I love about skills is that skills can be learned. Just like none of us knew how to start an IV until we learned. It's a skill. Just like none of us knew how to insert a Foley until we learned. It's a skill.
That's where I'm doing that.
Is a skill.
It's a skill.
Right? And you can learn it. I don't care what your personality is. I don't care if you're introvert, extrovert, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be introvert or extrovert to learn how to put in the Foley. You don't have to be introvert or extrovert to be able to learn how to sell in an authentic way for you. So that is what I have to say if you keep getting those objections. And also check yourself too, because if you're entering the conversation, going back to our previous episode, and even we talked about on this episode too, you also have to check what you're bringing into the conversation, because oftentimes, Dr. Ella brought up objections. Oftentimes we create our own objections.
Yeah,
we are creating the objections, not them. We are creating objections for them because of how we're showing up for the sales conversation. So it's important for us to do an audit on ourselves. And again, this is going back to money as well. What's our relationship with the money? Because if there's some stuff there underneath the hood, literally laying in your subconscious, you're going to struggle you'll be fine throughout the whole sales conversation until it gets time for you to coach your feet.
Money. Right.
Till it's time to coach your feet. Yeah.
It's the power of the pause. And I love that both of you said that, like how, and I do this as well, is like when I say the pricing, I just stop and I just stare. I drink. I need to bring water because usually I'm just
always have water when you're about
to drink the water. I usually have a cup of chai or something with me that I have.
You're good. Water, chai, something to drink.
So it's this level of giving that other person the time to process what you are stating, and it goes back to the somatic version of yourself, right? If you're sitting there super grounded and your comes up, you guys have to. One thing I want people to remember is that people, if they want your services, they're processing in their head, how am I going to pay for this? They're usually thinking going, okay, let me think about this. Let me think about that. Okay, maybe I can pull from here, or maybe I'll put it on this credit card. But if you just start, I love what Viola said, just shut up, because it's the honest truth. Because if you start putting information in their head when they don't have the time to process what they are saying, then you are overpowering them, and now it's just not a good situation, because then they're going to tell you no, because you didn't give them the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's very unfair. It's very unfair and selfish to not really honor that silence, because to your point, Bina, they are processing. You know what you're going to say. You know what you just said, but this is the first time they're hearing it. Although you may have said it a dozen times and you want a quick response, they just heard it for the very first time. They're processing them. So for you to start talking, and this is where we mess up the sale, right? We're like, oh, but if you want to do, and you jump in, it's like, you asked them a question. You gave them the fee. You asked them how they wanted to take care of it or whatever. Drink. Honor the silence. I'm serious. Drink something, because otherwise you're going to talk. And like I said, when you start talking, you're going to totally unravel everything. Oh, but
because I think people have to realize that when we are giving our numbers out, and some people physically, financially may not be able to pay certain things, correct? It's just physically impossible for them. But they might see a number, and again, it goes back to the money trauma. Say if you're charging $5,000 to $20,000 to $50,000, right? That money number that they see on that screen, or however you state it to that client, it has to give them that number. Like, how in the fuck am I going to pay $5,000? Or how am I supposed to pay this? Or because they're processing, and it's their own money trauma going, that's never me. I can never do this. This is not who I am.
Yeah, but the other thing too, before you even, I teach this in my programs, before you even get to the price part, you guys need to have a money conversation earlier in the process, right? The first time that money comes into the process should not be at the end when you're quoting your fee. You should, because then they start comparing it to whatever their last purchase was of that magnitude, right? So for instance, my program's $30,000, right? So if the last thing they purchased that was $30,000 is a car, they're like, oh my God, this is a car, right? So you have to, again, have this money conversation earlier in the process and help them how much have you already spent trying to solve this problem? And time and money and effort, all the things. So that part has to be talked about way before you get to quoting your fee.
And I love that, because understanding, like, people will say, I want to make 200K this year, which should never be the goal mark, but I understand the goalpost, but I understand it. But I want to make 200K this particular year. If you've been wanting to go into business for the last 10 years and you have lost $2 million,
exactly,
30K for that is a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of money that you can make.
And that you lost.
You have lost over the years. And so really understanding that is key. So it's so true. Oh my God.
Emily, what would you say to...
What was the question? Because I had to get my dogs from grooming real quick.
That was really quick. Then you ran and came back. That's impressive.
Thank you. I ran sprints in college, so
that was it was like a leprechaun sprint, man. That you were there and back, and
I was just about tired, out of breath, and nothing.
Nothing like that's the somatic breathing for you, Dr. Viola.
Yeah,
that's somatic.
I need some of that. Okay, all right. I get back from running.
I was asking the question of, a lot of entrepreneurs will have a lot of money objections, right? And they're like, oh, we get clients and they would charge $5,000, $3,000, whatever they consider high ticket, and they get a lot of no's. How would you help a new entrepreneur a little bit about that, those no's? Like, how would you help them with those money objections?
Yeah. I think it comes back to your own self-worth too. What do you believe that you can hold $5,000? Do you feel that you're worth $5,000? Because if you're putting that price out there, but then on your sales calls, as Sharice was saying, you're not confident, or you don't believe in the services that you're actually selling, then it's just going to fall short, because you're not coming with confidence, and they're going to pick that up right away. Yeah, I think getting steady in what you want to offer, getting secure in the amount of money that you are putting on that coaching service or your course or whatever the objection may be of what you're trying to put out in front of them. And know that you're going to get way more no's than yeses. And that's okay, because I think we're used to getting a lot of yeses, especially within the hospital system or at our jobs. Yes, you can do that. Yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
But with business, if you get a no, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. But Sharice was also saying, if you get a bunch of no's, like, It might be how you're coming across to somebody. It might be your messaging. It might be that you're a burnout coach and you're actually trying to help nurses that are burned out, which actually have such dysregulated nervous systems, they can't even think to or fathom to pay $5,000 because so like
they're already so disoriented. They're still in that state of
they don't even want to invest in themselves because they're in fight or flight right now. So they can't even think about even self-investing or even taking a time to listen to a podcast to invest in their mindset or learning. Yeah, I think you have to look at a little bit of a market analysis and be like, is this an actual viable product, or are the people that I'm selling it to, can they actually pay that amount? Because I've been seeing a lot of burnout coaches, and I've had a lot of coaches that come to me and they're like, I'm not making any money. People don't want to sign up for my stuff. And I'm like, yeah, because you're talking to Speedy Gonzalez, like the cartoon Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah.
They heard you and they're gone. They don't want to take the time. So then you also have to look at who are the people that you're actually niche down, who you're trying to bring in for your coaching stuff, because broke mindset people definitely, and a lot of those burned out nurses are like that. They're not going to invest $3 or $5,000. Yeah, you can give them your $147 course as a downsell, and they might eventually come in, but
yeah, but they're not even going to do that. They'll pay for it, but exactly. they won't even go through the course. They won't even take the minute and time. And you have a conversation with them a little later. It's like, hey, how are you doing in your course? Or how are you doing with X, Y, and Z? And then they'll be like, oh, I haven't even opened it yet.
Haven't started yet. Yeah.
I'm like,
because they don't have any skin in the game. That's what they don't have to understand. I got skin in the game. You know, when you invest, you have skin in the game, then you'll start to move. But if you don't have skin in the game, you're not going to move. The reality is that, listen, I pay a good amount for my coaching because I believe a coach needs a coach. And let me be very clear that I'm going to act upon everything that she says. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I have been in programs where I have not done what I needed to do, and I didn't make the mark. But when she tells me to do something now, I do everything that she tells me to do. Period. Point blank. End of story. So, when you have skin in the game, then it makes a difference for sure.
People who pay attention. I'm not sure who said that. It's not my saying, but it's people who pay attention because they have to have skin in the game. And $147 to anybody, any nurse, that's nothing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And also don't say, I see a lot of nurse coaches that are putting their service out there being like, people can't afford this. And I've already said that already. Like, you're already putting that out into the universe. Right. People like, yeah, obviously you're just going to attract people that can't afford it. But if you're like, everybody wants to work with me, everybody loves me, my mind is made of millions, people love to hear what I have to say, people want to be around me, people want to be if you start saying those things, people will start being like, oh my God, I saw your stuff on Facebook. How can I get in your program? Or how can I work with you? Like, it's bad.
It's all about that energy that we were talking about from the beginning of this call. It goes back to the energy of what you're putting in. When we're talking, and this is very crucial to sum this episode back up, we went down a couple of different rabbit holes on this episode, but it all goes back down to one thing. It goes back down to knowing your money, knowing where your money trauma comes from, knowing your self-worth. And when you're putting content, remember, me and Dr. Viola said this when we met, Facebook's free, y'all. Like, it's free.
Free. Like all of them. LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, all of them.
LinkedIn. It's everything's free. It's free advertisement. It's free visibility. All your problem is you don't fucking post that shit. That's your problem. So I think it goes back to that mindset of like when Emily, you're dead on. It's like a lot of nurses and healthcare providers, they're like, we're not making money. When's your last time you posted, honey?
Yeah.
5 days ago. What'd you think? Mom, I got to post 3 times a day. Do you know the algorithm? Like, people won't see you. I don't see Sharice's, even though I'm friends with Sharice. I don't see Sharice's like stuff. I see Dr. V's every single day. Every 2 or 3 times a day. I don't know why, but the algorithms, you're going to see Dr. V today. You're going to see Emily today. But it's just the way that the algorithm goes. So just because you think you're posting, you're not.
If you think you're overdoing it, you're not.
You're not. If you think you're overdoing it,
actually. Like, it takes 7 to 13 times for somebody to actually even want to think about contacting you. So if you're just posting once and you're like, nobody's coming to my course. No shit, because you probably haven't posted enough.
They don't know about it. How about that? They just don't know about it. It's not that it sucks. It's just they don't know it exists.
Exactly.
The visibility problem.
Which we did have a podcast previously. So for all you guys want to hear that, we did have a podcast, and we will do a different podcast specifically around visibility. But for this particular one, just know that your money trauma matters. You know, what you're doing matters. How you take that into a sales call is it's pivotal, because if you do not heal that money trauma, you are not going to be able to be good in sales. And I'm going to quote Dr. V, don't do anything you have not healed on.
Yeah.
You can't. Like, that was like when she said that, actually, when I was speaking, I was like, damn, I'm using that. I told her that. I'm like, I'm going to use this because it's the truth. That was like a big pivotal thing in my world. That's just, you can't coach sales if you've never mastered how your money trauma is or what your money relationship is. And I think that's huge, where a lot of coaches, high level coaches, they're good at what they do because all of us has done the work behind it.
Amen.
That sums up today's episode, and reach out to us. We'll be doing more, and look forward to seeing you guys.
Follow all of us. Everybody.
Yeah, we will make sure all of our links are on the links below to make sure you're following Dr. V, Charisse, Emily, and myself. We really want this particular podcast to go viral, so please subscribe below. And if this resonates with you, please share this with your audience, because the best part about the Nurse's View is we're here to talk with real language, real talk, and no filters behind us, and really giving you guys unsolicited advice, again, for free. It's free.
Right.
It's free. Take advantage of this, because we're going to have way more in-depth conversations. So if there's anything specific you guys would like to hear, drop us a message so we can also talk about that as well. And until next time, we'll see you guys all later.
Bye.
Bye.